we're addicted to past experiences. If y'all have ever been to school or a job and that you didn't like it or you didn't want to be there, then you know what I'm talking about. So if you've ever been in school or work and you felt like you wanted to not be there, that's an environment that you are in, and then it creates that feeling that you don't want to be there. And every time you think of that environment, you think of that negative feeling. And so what happens is that all unites into one, and then that becomes a part of you, and you subconsciously will run off of that. And what I mean is this. So once that's subconsciously running and it's a part of you, as soon as you enter that environment, you remember that feeling. And so oftentimes that may feel like a feeling of tiredness or a desire to really not be where you're at. And if you simply accept that, and this happens on a subconscious level, if you simply accept that that's going to happen, you will just automatically feel that way, and your being will be different. Your being will be this new person who doesn't want to be in this environment, in this area. And let me tie it to an actual example. Let's do a simple example. So let's say that you you know, you're walking and you see a dog and you go and pet the dog and the dog bites your hand. And that is basically trauma. I don't know why I quoted. That is trauma. And so then now you associate that feeling of like fear and anxiety and stress with a dog. And so that means, and that just gets buried inside of you. And what happens the next time you see a dog, you remember that experience, and because of your subconscious programming, that's what surfaces, and you start to feel those feelings. And so what can you do about these things? Well, I mean, the simplest way is to let go of that program immediately as you notice it. So this will be hard depending on how strong that program is, how many times your body and your mind has been repeating it. So I've been battling with this for a while, is just the feeling of not wanting to go to school/work, and I've just tied work with school. So it's a very like seamless transition. But growing up, I never wanted to go to school. Like there was never a day that I like really, really, really wanted to go to school. Like I could remember so many days where I'd stay up late and I would dread going to bed and waking up early the next day to go to school. And I would dread being at school. And while I was at school, I had this feeling like I didn't want to be there the entire time. There was a lot of just like random things, like feeling like I couldn't perform well, or I couldn't focus, or I wasn't like these other kids, or that some like social things, like I didn't get along. I didn't have a ton of friends. I mean, I had friends, don't get me wrong. I wasn't this isn't a sob story. Don't get me wrong. I had very close friends who I'm still friends with to this day. But I'm trying to say is like I was just like different, I guess. And when you go to school like every day feeling like that, it's not really a place you feel safe or comfortable at. And so that built up, and that just translates one to one to work like so easily. But work is so much different because it's longer, and it's just a whole different environment. Something about school just guiding you every single step of the way made it kind of easy, but I don't want to get into that specifically. Another way to put this concept is I thought of, if you have a whiteboard, and let's say you draw on the whiteboard. You have one big whiteboard, you start drawing on it. And when you draw once, like drawing is your experience that you face. So like if you have an experience, like let's say the dog bite, for example. So you had that experience, you draw it down, and that's just part of you now. And then you just keep stacking on experiences as your life goes on, and then your whiteboard gets full, and then you're like, that's basically you, because subconsciously, uh, th- that's how you live most of your life subconsciously. Like you wake up, you kind of go through your morning routine, you brush your teeth. You know, you don't really choose to do these things every single time every day, and like there's pros and cons to that for sure, because if you had to consciously think of everything, that would be really difficult to live life. But basically, like these are things that you accept and that you become. But if you want to be somebody that you are not right now, or you want to basically go somewhere where you've never gone, like let's say you have a dream of writing a book, you have a dream of being a YouTuber, you have a dream of making like a millions of dollars, you have a dream of starting your own business, or maybe you just want to live like a happy life, you know, be very peaceful and content, then maybe you have to do things that you've never done before. And to do things that you've never done before, imagine your whiteboard, it's full of drawings and words and things everywhere. Now try to like make something new on there while there's so much stuff there. And so first you gotta erase that board to make space. It's like in Vagabond, this manga, one of the main characters, Musashi, he says, you know, inside I am nothing, which means I'm infinite. Because when there's infinite nothingness, there's infinite potential to do anything. And so it's kind of like that. When you have a blank whiteboard, you could draw anything you want on there. There's nothing stopping you. But if it's full of drawings, there's no space to create anything. And so whenever you start to realize these processes that are running in the background, you can slowly let go of them. And I'm saying this from a place of like, this is what I'm learning like actively every day. And you know, I'll catch moments where I'm able to let go, but it's hard. Like today was a hard day at work. There's just something about that feeling of just really not wanting to be there. Like I just don't belong there. Like I'm not meant to be there. That's not my alignment. And it's difficult to like be in a place and just like know you're not meant to be there. Like it's really difficult personally dealing with that. And it's not about like, you know, not wanting to do anything and brain rotting in bed all day. It's like it's just like just not alignment, bro. Like we all have our own unique talents. You know, if you think of the body is such a cool interesting thing. Like in this world, an organism, like the lungs have such a specific function, and they provide like oxygen for us, and they convert the oxygen throughout our blood, and then the blood like carries throughout our body, and all the different organs have different parts and purposes. And it's interesting to think like, you know, our body isn't just all a brain. Like it's not like 100% a brain. And I mean, this kind of ties to Christianity, but I'm not trying to preach any religion. This is just like interesting connection. Like in Christianity, they teach that like we're the body of God, basically, and we're all different parts. And the hand doesn't say it's better than the eyes doesn't say it's better than the foot or whatever. And it's like it all has different purposes. And if you think about that, like we are not all meant to work into like, you know, an office job. We're not all meant to work freaking like being an actor or YouTuber or being like entrepreneur or whatever. We're all meant to do just different things. And it's like right now I'm in a job that requires me to be like uh I don't know, like a spine, but really I'm like a freaking elbow or some crap. Like I'm just not in the space I know I'm meant to be, and it's frustrating. And so I'm learning to view this emotion and this feeling and try to let go of that past feeling of just not wanting to be in the place I'm at, because I know like you can find peace anywhere, because peace is a concept that's just comes from within. Like like peace is not something you get externally. And so learning to let that go has been a journey for sure. But I wanted to teach y'all this, especially the whiteboard concept has been helping me, because it's like, I think in the past I would try to just shove motivation into my head and shove like mindset stuff into my head and shove knowledge into my head, like reading so many books. But really, it's the more important aspect is actually like letting go and releasing. It's about release, because I mean, in Eastern philosophy like Taoism, they talk so much about water and going with the flow and like nature. And if you think about how water just works, water at the top of a mountain, it will just stream downwards. It streams naturally with gravity, and if it gets blocked, it'll just move and find a different way. And oftentimes we go about life just blocking ourselves. We're trying to force something. We're trying to force our way through. But reality is if we just let go, and we let go of control, and maybe in a Christian mindset, I'm just hopping philosophies, mindsets, and areas because there's truth in everything. In a Christian mindset, maybe that's, like surrendering to God in a way, like surrendering your life to God and letting Him do the work, or if you want to think about it another way, letting the universe do its work through you or whatever. And it's like being led basically, rather than the ego like forcing something and controlling and compartmentalizing, to try to make life this predictable thing. But life really is unpredictable, and it's difficult to accept that, really, because the mind wants to control everything it can, especially if you're smart. If you're an intellectual, the mind will do everything it can to control every scenario. And whenever you are faced with enough uncontrollable factors, your mind will like go crazy. And for me, I feel like I'm definitely touching a bit into that, because I look at my life so deeply and I'm like, why? Like what am I meant to do here, bro? Like I'm not meant to be in this office, bro. I just know that. And some people are meant to be there, and that's great. It's just difficult. And so I just wanted to share like this journey, I guess, and see, it's interesting to make these videos. And so I hope this helps, somebody along the way. Maybe gets you into a new perspective or something. I know I'm definitely feeling a bit more down lately. I'm just tired, like physically tired. But that's just some real, not to make it contagious or anything like that, but like, yeah, just being honest, like it's hard working a 9 to 5 and trying to take care of yourself, and trying to have somewhat of a social life and enjoy yourself a little bit. It's hard, and especially growing up with privilege, it makes it even harder. Because it's like I had enough freedom, time, and space to actually think about different problems and be like, well, isn't there more to life than like surviving, like living paycheck to paycheck, or like just, working a job that just pays well? Like, what does that even mean? Like, how can you accept that? Like, if you are like a dentist or something, or if you're like a freaking, like, I don't, like, if you're in a job, what I'm trying to get at is, if you're in a job just for the money, how can you accept that as your life? Like, that just blows my mind. And it sucks because low-key I grew up in that kind of culture where the value is in what your job produces as money. And I'm understanding why. It's because that generation did not grow up with much, and they learned that these fields are the way to make money. And when you have money, you can spend it on your family, and you can, like, spend more time with your family, and raise your family better. And it's a very like familial, tribal kind of community thing, is the way my family grew up. And so when I take a step back from that and be like, well, is that really like I can't accept that as my life. And the internet has taught me so many different perspectives, and low-key might be like too many, because that might have a detrimental effect on mental health for sure, just seeing so much opportunity and possibility. But I mean, personally, I take it as a blessing, because it expands my worldview, and I can see like where you can see where you take your own life if you choose. And it's difficult because I don't know how to get there, and I don't know exactly what. I really love YouTube though. I love YouTube. I grew up with YouTube. It basically raised me. Uh, but it's just like, even on YouTube, I don't know what. And then at the end of the day, there's bills to be paid. And I don't know, maybe that mindset in itself is flawed. Like maybe I'm resisting something else, but who knows? I'm feeling very impulsive. My mindset's very impulsive. Uh, I think about like, what am I doing? I cannot even handle this job. Um, why don't I just say F it and like move to Japan or something and go off my savings? But savings only last so long, man. And I don't know, like trying to force money, it feels not right. It's kind of like the Wu Wei, the water, you know, I would want it to come naturally. And right now it feels difficult. But anyways, I'm home. I'm going to do my best to listen and rest, because your boy's tired. But anyways, thanks for watching if you made it this far. More to come. Peace.